Albin Roberts Bate was an artist known for his portrait paintings. Happily married to wife Sarah Jones in 1810, the couple would go on to have 8 children. In 1822, the growing Bate family lived in a Hunter Street area of Chester, Cheshire, England, also regularly renting a cottage in Parkgate, Cheshire, near to the beach. Things were seemingly going well for the family, but alas, cruel tragedy was waiting in the wings. Thursday the 5th of December 1822. A typical bone-chillingly cold winter's day in England. A persistent sideways rain fell for several days, and the newspapers talked of tropical storms at sea. With a slight improvement in the forecast, Albin made a trip to Liverpool, bringing his 9-year-old son Nelson along. The pair made the crossing from Whitby in Cheshire to Liverpool docks on the early morning tide and spent the day in the city. They would be heading home on the afternoon tide. At 3 p.m. they left port aboard the steam packet ship, the PSS Prince Regent. By 5 p.m, and within a quarter of a mile of the ship's destination of Ellesmere Port, problems arose. Without warning, strong sea winds turned into a full-scale hurricane. The Prince Regent was pushed back into the river and could not make port. The decision was made to return to Liverpool. With waves crashing and wind howling, a stark discovery was made. The tide had receded too far, and it was impossible to make port in Liverpool. The ship became impossible to keep under control, battered by waves which washed over the decks. At 9 p.m. the crew dropped anchor in the middle of the river, but it did little good. Other ships were in the water too. Just after midnight, now Friday the 6th of December, the Prince Regent ran foul of a flat ship named the John. The Regent's 23 crew and passengers were tossed about violently. For a few moments the ships lay alongside each other, and with little time to think, 5 crew and passengers jumped ship, leaving the Regent and boarding the John. Within seconds the ships parted, and in the confusion, Albin Bate was washed overboard the Regent. Miraculously he managed to grab a hold of the rail of the John, where he struggled desperately for 7 minutes before being discovered and pulled aboard. Having been informed that his father had been lost overboard, Nelson endured alone on the Prince Regent. By 1 a.m, 7 hours had passed since the little steam packet ship had left Liverpool. The tide had fully ebbed and flowed in that period. Those on deck stood almost knee-deep in water as a strong current took the Prince Regent and washed the ship up onto a sandbar. In the distance, lights from the Cheshire shore could be seen. "It must only be about 60 metres to shore," cried one passenger. "We could try and swim it," replied another. The river settled in parts, but the hurricane still raged out in the main channel. By 4 a.m, with the ship listing to one side, Captain Diamond encouraged all aboard to make land. 3 men went first, and though struggling through the mud flats and currents, all 3 made land. Spurred on by this, more stepped up to make the attempt. Amongst them was 9-year-old Nelson Bate. Struggling gamely, Nelson made it across the deep mud and into the black waters. From the 17 who had remained on board, only 8 made it to shore. Nelson Bate was not one of them. He had vanished amidst the treacherous currents. Having made it safely back to land aboard the flat ship the John, Albin awaited news in a state of helplessness. He was soon given the news that he had dreaded to hear. The drowned body of a young boy had been found, washed up on the tide not far from where the Prince Regent ran aground. All that remained was for Albin Bate to identify the broken body of his son. 9 in total perished in the attempt to make land from the sinking ship. Albin was overcome with grief at the loss of his son Nelson. Inconsolable, he travelled home with the body, having to break the devastating news to his wife and family. Nelson Bate was buried in the cemetery of St Lawrence's Church in Stoke, Cheshire, on Friday the 13th of December 1822. The gravestone reads, Nelson Bate, aged 9 years, was drowned in the River Mersey during the hurricane of the 5th and 6th of December 1822. Time went by, but Alban Bate was haunted by the loss of his son. He would spend more and more time at the little cottage in Parkgate, watching the tides ebb and flow on the River Dee. He would walk the shore at Parkgate, collecting smooth pebbles and rocks. Once he had collected enough stones, he began work on a new piece of art, a mural in memory of his beloved son Nelson. A fitting tribute, stones taken from the river, not unlike the river which took his son. For almost 200 years, the mural outside the little cottage on Station Road, Parkgate, has kept alive the memory of young Nelson Bate. And long may it remain.